I've been in education for 23 years. I came out at 23 and I just said, I don't know how to be an adult. It sounds ridiculous. I didn't know about mortgages, didn't know about finances, didn't know anything. I felt stupid.
I'd always say find someone who's, before you decide on, oh, that strategy sounds great, find someone that's actually making it work, because a lot of them are noise.
If everyone's saying the same thing and the majority of people are ahead of you and they own more property and they've got more assets than you and they've got a bigger net worth than you and they've been doing it longer than you, you'd be stupid to not maybe think there's some element of truth in that argument.
Hi everyone, just before we get going with today's podcast, just a quick announcement that our book is now live on Amazon. If you go and search for Financial Freedom at BDRR, you'll find a book that describes the mindset, strategy, systems that we've put together to deliver over 50 projects in 5 years. We launched it in 2025 and it went to number 1 in 3 separate categories on the bestseller list. So hopefully you'll find some real good value out of it. And just one more time, Financial Freedom, BDRR on Amazon.
Yeah, the BDR evolution is changing the game.
Well, that's the full title. If you want to be picky, yeah, go and find it.
Right, welcome back to the Financial Freedom Podcast. So today we've got a guest with us. He's actually one of our clients as well, Sachin Govind. He's a pharmacist turned property investor, bit of a nomad as well. You've been traveling the world and all those sort of things. So I believe you've been and traveled to 38 countries now, solo. Is that right?
30 countries solo, 38 in total.
Right, yeah.
Trying to get to 100.
Excellent. Well, welcome to the show.
How are you, mate? You all good?
Good, yeah.
Do you class England, Scotland, Ireland and Wales as separate countries in this yeah. 30 number?
I do, but that's because the app I use tells me those are separate. So for me, they are separate.
Yeah. Well, I wouldn't call it cheating, but there we go.
That's what your definition is, I suppose. Yeah, cool. And also, while doing this, you've obviously been building a property portfolio in the background as well. So that's exciting stuff. So, right, I'm just gonna kick it off straight away with the question we ask all of our guests, which is basically, what is financial freedom to you? What's your definition? And yeah, what it actually means to you?
I think for me, financial freedom is be able to live the life that I want. Now, obviously, that depends on your expenses and your income. So if you've got high expenses, then trying to attain financial freedom is going to be a lot harder. You're going to need more assets behind you. Whereas if you kind of live a semi-nomadic lifestyle like I do and try and keep my expenses relatively reasonable, then I think then that financial freedom costs a lot lower for obvious reasons. So I think that's kind of my definition. Can I live the life that I want? And my life may not necessarily be what someone else wants, but it's very individualized.
Yeah, so with financial freedom, you can earn more money and you can also spend less money. So what you're saying is that, if you're traveling around the world semi-nomadically like you do and your expenses are pretty low, your financial freedom figure can be lower than others that are.
And it might sound ironic as well when you say to somebody, oh, this person's traveling the world, that they feel that their expenses are low.
Yeah.
It's almost like it's the counter of that. Oh, but they're traveling around the world. Yeah, but what is their base cost?
Exactly. And I think it depends where you spend your time as well. Like I've spent a lot of time in Asia, a lot of time I'm starting to go to a bit more Eastern Europe. Next place I'm looking at South and Central America. So the costs are a lot lower versus the UK, Australia, New Zealand, America. Mm-hmm. So your actual costs are relatively lower than the UK. And I sometimes joke with my parents, I'm saving money here. I'm saving money by not being in the UK, which sounds ridiculous. But if you can set yourself up and, go to certain places or whatnot and kind of adjust, then that kind of jet set lifestyle I actually think is more attainable to a lot more people than maybe people actually think if you actually look at the costs. And also I try and do on a budget because I love adventures, and what I found that kind of, when you're taking 5-hour buses from here to there, you end up with some cool stories to tell.
You see a bit more as well, don't you?
Yeah, you do. Yeah, you do. And obviously you've traveled, Tim, so kind of the lifestyle and that backpacker traveling lifestyle.
Put a lot of trust in some bus drivers there, mate. I'm not going to lie. Some of the places you've been to, I'm looking at it and going, I'm not sure what their driving license testing looks like, to be honest with you, but fair enough. Yeah, that
is very true. Got some memories from Thailand and Vietnam especially. So
I remember flying down the coast of Tanzania in a Cessna with a crazy South African pilot who just passed his test, thinking, this is it. Me and these 3 chickens in the back are about to perish. We're not going to make it. He was absolutely mental, this guy. Yeah, just a crazy experience. Yeah. Oh yeah, some buses as well.
I think there's on a slightly different topic, but there's something about just packing up just what you've got into one bag and either traveling or moving somewhere. Because you get rid of all the shit you need. And also when you look at it, you're like, oh, I need a budget for this. And then you end up like canceling all these things that you don't need to pay for, which you probably didn't need to pay for anyway, but just because you've moved or traveled somewhere, you just cancel them all. Because I remember when I moved to the UK, A, I'm bringing my life into a bag so I can travel here. And B, all of your expenses you had basically are gone. Apart from like I kept the property and I was renting it out. I had to pay the mortgage. That was it. Everything else was gone. So I moved here. And the UK at that point was actually quite cheap to live comparatively to Australia. And I was like, geez, I'm saving a huge amount of money here, just because I've condensed my life, basically.
Well, I'll tell you a story. I was in Whitsundays about 6 years ago. And I don't know if you've been to Whitsundays. It's the most beautiful beach in the world. Whitehaven Beach, the most incredible place. And we had to leave most of our luggage, I think, on the mainland. So literally all I had was like
where is it?
It's in Australia. It's on
Queensland, the state of Queensland.
Okay.
So it's these. I was on a boat for a couple of days, and all I had was literally a carry bag full of clothes. And I can still remember looking at Whitehaven Beach and like all I had was literally the bag of clothes, plastic bag, nothing else. Had my phone obviously, and that was it. And you're just like, how can I live? It didn't make sense to me. Like it just kind of my whole life is in this plastic bag. So that's all I need.
Yeah.
And I can't. Whenever I try and be relatively minimalistic now. That's one thing I've learned, especially when I spent a lot of time with just basically my rucksack and, a wheelie suitcase.
I'm glad you've upgraded to a rucksack.
I never had a rucksack. I'm not that guy.
What are you doing in the plastic bag, mate?
At least you had to wear it on your back.
They wouldn't let me bring the luggage on board, but we had this plastic bag and I still think back to every time, like, that was one of the happiest moments of my life. And yet I had nothing or very little. Okay, fine. You could say the cost of being Australian, the boat trip and stuff like that. But actually right there in that moment, t-shirt, you are, active wear, whatever, and then you're on this beach and you've got a bag of clothes and you're just like, wow. And I can't unsee that. And I think it's definitely, I've traveled a lot in the last 7 years, been one of the best kind of life experiences, and it's actually made me understand what I want out of life and things like that. And I've certain memories like that I can't forget about, and I can't live my life the way that I used to live my life because of those things.
Yeah.
That's not to say everyone should do that. That was just my take and my experience, but I can't unsee that. How can I be so happy with, in theory, very little?
Yeah, the freest I've ever felt in life was that moment when I'd finished university and I'd moved home for a short period of time.
Yeah.
I had nothing to do.
Yeah.
I had nothing. No, the feeling of freedom was like, so I'm never going to have to do an exam again. I'm never going to have to work to pay for a shared accommodation for student life again. Obviously, I need to move my life forwards, but this summer I've got nothing to do. I've got nothing to do. I can go and get a little job. All I need is enough money for the weekend to have a good time and see my friends and, play sport or whatever. It's the most free I've ever felt in life. And what happens is we tend to then charge through these career things. And I think they had a lot of baggage and time and risk and, commitments and stuff. So it's very commendable what you're doing, mate. I gotta say, I'm glad you got a rucksack though. And
also, I also think you can't underestimate the power of like just getting out of your comfort zone. So like when you're just picking up and going to another country, whether it's to travel or live, you're out of your comfort zone regardless. And if you do that once, you can do it again and again and again. Whereas if you've never done that, you've just stayed, say, within your town or within your comfort area and life. You haven't built that muscle, I don't think. If that makes sense. You know what I mean?
No, I know you're getting at. And weirdly enough, I was in Manchester last weekend. I was waiting for a friend and I was sat by myself having a drink. And that's the most uncomfortable I've ever felt. Being alone. I've eaten all the world or, been out by myself in various places. And I never get anxious. I'm just like, you're on your own. You've either got to kind of make stuff happen or it's going to be a rubbish experience for you. It's going to be shit. Like it just is. And yeah, it was weird how back in Manchester, back in my home city, that was one of the most uncomfortable times I'd ever felt just being by myself. Even though my mate was coming, he was 15 minutes behind or whatever. But I found that really interesting and I don't know why that is. And yet I would say that's within my comfort zone because it's the UK and it's my home city. So it's quite interesting you brought that point because for me now, I don't really see it as outside my comfort zone. Maybe my comfort zone is kind of being in one place for too long. I don't actually know the answer to that, but that's just something I'm thinking.
It probably was an anxiety due to restlessness, because you weren't experiencing anything at that time that you didn't already know.
Yeah.
And you can get restless with that. I get restless with that. Even though I don't really do too, because I did a lot of traveling with work. I don't really do a lot at the moment. But if I'm left alone, Saturday morning alone on the couch.
Yeah.
I'm the worst version of me. In the week, I'm like, what am I doing myself? Why am I not doing something? And if you haven't planned an activity or you just sat there trying to watch the time away, I think today's version of the world where you get everything on demand and everything is now, has created that ability that is taken away that ability for a lot of people to just sit and do nothing. Just.
I think it's actually good just to sit and be a little bit bored now.
Yeah.
Like it's a good skill to have to be able to do that and not be too anxious because the current world is not set up for that, is it?
It's funny because if I ever said I was bored as a kid, I'd be given jobs to do. If the kids that I helped go said they were bored, they were given an iPad or a computer game to play.
Yeah.
It's a completely different world, isn't it?
Whereas now I think with our kids, it's like, okay, cool, you're bored. That's good.
Yeah,
Get on with
You're
it.
not getting the iPad.
Get on with it.
What
Like,
game I phone?
yeah.
Well done. Super. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Right. So just to round that up, so where do you think you're at on your sort of financial journey or whatever, what your definition is?
I think I'm on the way. I don't think I'm quite where I want to be, but I think the challenge is kind of balancing everything, like most people balancing everything. Like everything comes at cost. So yes, I could spend, all my time traveling. I could spend the next 3-4 years traveling, come back intermittently or whatever. But at the same time, I'm not achieving other things in life. I'm not going to be able to build my portfolio as quickly and not going to achieve things in business, not going to achieve things in other areas. So I'd say I'm on the way. I'm not quite where I want to be. But then I also think, well, where I want to be, do you then reach that point and then, there's another gear to go, another level to go. So I think like I'm happy with where I'm at. There's still a long way to go. I'm 31 now, and I love property, I love business, I love that side of it. I don't think I can ever completely just stop working travel. That's just not me. I just get bored. Like after 2 months, I want to come home. I just want to work and grind. And so I think like I've got another 30, 35 years, 40 years of playing, I suppose, the game of business and the game of property. So I don't really see it as the end point is obviously achieving a level of financial freedom I'm happy with, but also just enjoying the process of building something. And that's the best bit. The best bit. Anytime I've achieved something that was actually all right, but it's actually the process of getting there that's the enjoyment part, for me anyway. Because you reach the point, you're like, right, I've achieved this. What's next? Yeah. So yeah, to answer your question, I'm on the way, but it's a process and it's a lifetime journey, and there's going to be ups, downs, highs, lows, wins and losses. But it's a journey, and you try and keep going and try. I'm trying to just be, am I a step forward today or a centimeter forward today? And as long as over my lifespan, I'm kind of a lot further on than that. That's the goal.
Yeah, it's a good answer, mate. Yeah, it's a good answer.
Keep growing incrementally all the time is a good way to look at it, isn't it? And
I think it's the enjoy the journey part. Because everything's the process, right? Yeah, winning something is an example, is an elated feeling, but the next day is some of the saddest people in the world.
And
just want something.
You hear that from a lot of say professional sports people. Yeah. I think you mentioned something before about, I think it was Johnny Wilkinson, and he scored that. I won't mention the game because my team lost.
Painful for you.
What, 2003 World Cup final?
Yeah, whatever.
when he kicked a drop goal with his opposite foot.
Was his opposite? I didn't.
It wasn't even his good foot. It was his right foot. Yeah,
I was walking out the pub at that point. I was going out the door.
He was on his way to the UK.
It was just after George Gregan missed a tackle and Matt Dawson got the ball out the back of the scrum.
Can't remember. Anyway, the point was, I think he said he was like had this sensation for something like 30 seconds.
Yeah.
So he'd done all this work and he'd been so disciplined, and been hard on everyone, been a prick to everyone, all this sort of stuff. He's like, I enjoyed it for about 30 seconds, which is weird, isn't it? Because it's one of the biggest sporting events that happened in rugby as an example, and barely enjoyed it. But I think the learning he was saying from that is like he wished he just could have enjoyed everything leading up to it and after and all these sort of things, which is that stereotypical word of the journey. But you just got to enjoy it day in, day out.
A modern day example is the Strictly Come Dancing series,
right?
Because one of the things they're having to do now is provide aftercare to people, to contestants, because the journey is such a high, and the journey and the emotion and the enjoyment factor is so high, that what comes after a high, a huge low, and people have really struggled with it.
Yeah. Right, I want to talk about some strategies then for investment wise, what you're doing at the moment to achieve your financial freedom goals and all this sort of stuff, to be able to travel around. What are your strategies you're working on?
Obviously, I work as a pharmacist. That's the kind of main job, and then obviously property wise, flats, buy-to-lets, and obviously we're doing buy-refurbished refinance to HMO. So that's kind of what I've done in the past and what we're currently doing. The BRR to HMO is obviously what we're focusing on together.
I think you find that term is buy, develop, rent, refinance. Like this.
That is correct.
Book in front of you.
Yeah, if you ever want to know about it, there is a book. You just search for financial freedom, BDRR.
The BDRR methodology. But
so that's what we're currently doing now. My next stage is obviously keep doing the BDR strategy and buying HMOs and renovating them. But the next stage for me is looking for blocks, looking for portfolios. So if anyone has any, please let me know. So that's kind of my next stage. I feel like I feel like I'm growing at a good speed, but I think I could, be on the accelerator a bit more. Obviously the cost of that is that I can't travel, but that's fine. So that's kind of the next step for me, get into those blocks of flats, get into portfolios, trying to acquire them. And that's kind of, the next stage of my journey, as well as doing, the BR to HMO, the BDR to HMO strategy, working coincidentally, is that the word? Next to each other. Next to each other. So that's kind of where my next kind of path is over the next, I suppose, 2, 3, 4 years or so.
So how are you working in, if you don't mind me asking, the pharmacy side with everything else that you're doing?
With difficulty, it's long weeks, it's long days. So I tend to get up, let's say 7:30, 7:45, leave for work. And then it's drive to work, sometimes up to an hour, just over an hour, try and keep it below an hour. Obviously do my day job. And then when I get times, either lunchtime, reply to emails, take calls. And then, I try and avoid doing those emails during work, but sometimes it does happen. I was just taking it. It's not ideal. And then
there are some crunch times, aren't there?
The crunch times, And then obviously finish work tends to be 6 because we're in healthcare. So and then commute home. Commute to the gym, straight to the gym, and then get home about 8:30, 9, dinner, and then that is when I do the property stuff. So I do property stuff. I'll be in a bit of a zombie state at that point because I'll be tired because it's a long day. Potentially 2 hours of driving, 8, 9 hours on shift, gym, and then I'll just try and do something. So that is where that's where the gains are made, in my opinion. The gains are made in the 10 p.m. to 11 p.m. That's where, for me, that's what I have to do to achieve what I'm trying to achieve with property and other things. And then during the day, obviously when I'm commuting, podcasts, books, anything. And then I'll work on weekends, Sunday.
And the pharmacy is a family business, is that right? Or
so
are you locuming it?
We do. So the background is a family business in pharmacies. And then, if my dad needs my help or he wants advice or he's got questions or, he'll ask me, but I predominantly do contract work.
Yeah.
But if something crops up, then obviously.
And is that to work around your traveling and things like that? The time away and things?
Yeah. So I think when I first started qualified in 2018, and that was a really hard year. So did my training exams, you're working during the day and then you're going home and studying at night. So this routine I have for me is normal. It's not healthy at times, but it's not abnormal. I've been doing it since uni. So it's you've got to go through a slog at some point in your life to achieve what you're trying to achieve. So so I think I qualified and it was a long year, and then I was like, right, I'm just going to do contract work because I just didn't want a job yet. I was 22 and just didn't want a job. I had a tough 5 years of qualifying, and then just started doing that, and then eventually got into property around COVID time. Actually, weirdly enough, so I was kind of trying things between 2018 and 2020. It was like drop shipping or e-com or stuff like the classics stuff you see. Nothing really stuck. And then my final plan was I'm going to become an online coach because I love training health and fitness. Obviously, pharmacy background, so you learn about the health side. And I was going to learn to DJ as well. So did my PT course end of 2019, went traveling, and then COVID happened. So that completely changed all my plans. And then, I think the YouTube algorithm just started working, and then started going to property networking events. And that was kind of how it all started. I was like, hang on a minute. Obviously I'd seen guys who were traveling and working remotely whilst I was away. It's like, well, how can I do it? And then I was like, property, that's my thing. It makes sense. I'm a very logical person. It's numbers, spreadsheets. Obviously you've got building. So for me, it kind of makes sense. And then, that was it. And then I think bought the first one in 2021. But then during 2021, I was really ill for 3 months off work. And again, I'm self-employed, so there was no sick pay. I can't just go on universal credit. It's just not what I do. So it's like, well, it was then, and I had savings, so it was fine. I was living at home, so it's not a problem. But I think that point, I made me realize, you need different income streams, especially being self-employed as a pharmacist. It's not an option. You have to do it. It's not, I can't, it's for me, I have to do it because my body's broken down once. And probably the biggest challenge I've had over the last 6-7 years is my health. Just constantly my body breaks down, which is frustrating. But I realized that property could be that vehicle to give me other income streams that, let's say, health issues happen again. I've got some income coming in that can cover me. And funny enough, all the podcasts I've listened to, it seems like a lot of these guys who are great at business, when they've had really bad times, it's the little dribs and drabs of income from properties that actually get them afloat and has helped their business.
Yeah.
So that's basically where it came from. And then I was like, right, this is my thing. There's a convincing reason why. And that's kind of, 6-7 years later, I feel like okay, obviously not where I want to be, but there's reasons for that. I've definitely enjoyed myself the last few years. And there's a reason why, because my mentality's changed because of how well I was in 2021. How I've had other issues and God, I have another knee surgery again this year, second knee surgery. So, I could be way further on my property journey, but at the same time, it's like, I wouldn't have lived. And that period in 2021, like that I mentioned with Sundays earlier, that period in 2021 has changed my life forever for the better. And I feel like most people don't get a chance to embrace mortality or understand it because they never have something that they think they're going to die from. I wasn't going to die, but I was really not in a good way. But it changed my whole life. And I could not live the rest of my life doing what I previously did because, you never know when it's your last day. You never know, roughly we're probably all going to live to our mid-80s. But you don't know that. And I think sometimes people take life for granted and, you never know when it's done. So that's kind of the gist of it. It's kind of, that's how I got to here. It's like a combination of one, I was interested in it, two, I had to do something, and three, I actually enjoy it. I find it quite interesting. And it's hard. It's hard at times, as you guys know. That's what I enjoy.
Most people that have got a really strong purpose are the same people that are doing well in life because the purpose is there that drives them. You have to have a purpose that's intrinsic to you. And obviously yours and your health issue, if that hadn't happened, you'd probably be a little bit more, well, I'll do it later. Do you know what I mean? I can do it. I've got loads of time. But sometimes it is that thing that happens as a life event that really drives somebody, And if you've got a really strong purpose that's intrinsic to you and you've got a strategy that makes sense, genuinely, that's all you need, to be able to move things forwards because you're going to drive the strategy. You're going to find everything about it, how to do it, what to do, when to do it. You're going to do the 10 o'clocks, because of that. Well, if I don't do that, then I can't do this. If I don't do this, remember what happened then, because that 3 months or 4 months or whatever it was, if I don't get these incomes and it happens to me again, that 3 months becomes 3 years, then I'll have missed my opportunity to go and see the beach or the carry my plastic bag down, whatever it was, or invest in that first rucksack, whatever it was that you got to buy, So it's almost like synonymous that most successful people have had something significant happen to them that has driven them forwards. So it's interesting to hear.
I think the one thing I like about what you're saying there is you're trying to enjoy the day in, day out because life can be short and you can have health problems, all these sort of things, but at the same time still build something. So still build something for the future, still invest in the same time. Don't do like one or the other. And sometimes people get too wrapped up. They're like, I'm not doing that. I'm not investing in that because I just want to go traveling or whatever. Or, vice versa. They're going too hard in the investing and they're not enjoying the day to day. So I think it's really good that you seem to strike up that blend fairly well, and it's important to you.
I think what's add to that is one thing I remember from my childhood is I didn't get many presents as a kid, but what I got was presents. So my parents were always around. They managed to build a family business that I think I can count on a handful of times where one of my parents didn't pick me up. And I look back now and I think at the time you're just a kid and you're just like, I want that. I want that car or I want that little remote control, whatever. But I look back now and I think that was the greatest gift. Well, one of the greatest gifts my parents could ever give me. And for me, one of the goals is to be in a position where I'm at the netball practice, I'm at the hockey game, I'm at the music recital or whatever it is, if I ever have kids. Because my parents were there. And it's only until probably you're a bit older and a bit wiser and you've seen a few more things in the world that you realize what's actually important.
So. It's interesting you say
if you wanted to keep your expenses low,
don't have kids.
Do not have kids. Yeah.
Yeah, but I think just reinforce that. I think one of the first times I met you at a networking event, your dad was with you because I know you guys have a close relationship. And I just remember
a lovely bloke, by the way.
He's a really nice guy. He's like, I'm just here to support Sachin, basically.
I think what my parents have achieved, I don't even know. I don't even really understand it.
You could tell immediately that's the guy that turns up. You could tell immediately.
My parents weren't born here, and what they've achieved and what they managed to build. They think it's normal, and it's just not. It's not. And my dad especially, he's been in business 40 years. I've learned so much, highs, lows, ups, downs, and I think he thinks it's normal, and that's what I sometimes have to reinforce. It's not normal, but again, it's just for two people who weren't born here, they've done a cracking job.
Yeah, definitely. Right, so I think we've talked about your typical day, so I'll move past that. But I suppose it depends, whether you're away or whether it sounds like you're away, you're traveling, having a good time, or you're here.
Can I flip the question then slightly?
Yeah.
Have you got any non-negotiable habits?
Gym 3.5 days a week minimum. That's it. That's probably the only one. Again, because health. Like, I love lifting, absolutely love lifting. I've been lifting I'm 31 now. I've been lifting since I was 16. Properly lifting since I was 20. Yeah, obviously there's stages where I can't train for 2 weeks, but I'd probably say over the last 13 years, I probably averaged about 3.5 days in the gym every week. Because it's just like, you can have...
When you say 3.5 days in the gym, what do you mean?
So is it like... So typically, like, if you're over the course of a year, I've probably averaged 3.5 to 4 days in the gym a week. So yeah, maybe 1 week.
So you go 7 times so like, fortnight.
Well, no, it's always pretty consistent. But obviously, when you're traveling, it's different. But when I'm back home, it's always 4 days a week minimum, always.
Okay.
But obviously, there's times where like you're in the middle of Thailand and there's no gym. Like you're not going to miss it. You know, I'm going to have
that's your average,
the waterfall. Yeah, if I average over a year, but yeah, whenever I'm at home, it's 4 days a week because I've always loved lifting. But it's again like your health is number one and. For me, it's like you'll see people and you see guys who've done really successful business or done really successful in other areas, but you've neglected to your health.
Yeah.
And
it's easy to do as well, right?
But it's the most important thing. And like that period in 2021, like I was basically in bed for 16 hours a day.
Oh, yeah.
Could not function at all, could not work, couldn't do anything. And so when we talk about, I sometimes think like a lot of what we do is either from pain or pleasure. And I think I love it. I find the gym, I love it. It's my social life, but at the same time, it's like, that's the pain.
So what do you, when you say lifting, I'm from that space. So what are we talking? Power or are we talking?
It's just like bodybuilding, but like upper, lower. Mainly just upper and rehab and then minute.
No, because the knee.
Yeah.
Did the knee come from the lifting?
No.
Right.
Just, don't know what happened.
Just a problem.
Just a problem. So getting that fixed. But yeah, that's kind of the only non-negotiable I really have. Just get yourself in the gym 4 days a week. And I'm just a big believer that if you can do a hard session in the gym, you can pretty much do most things.
Do you have a coach?
No. Don't train with on. Rarely train with anyone. Don't have a coach. Obviously have like, a plan of what I'm doing. And yeah, just crack on and get it done. And that's that. I just think it's a pillar. It's a pillar of the life that is so important. And I think a lot of people neglect it.
Here's the thing. I was a sports scientist, right? That's what I did.
Yeah.
So at 31, if I was to talk to my 31-year-old self, again, it would be, even though you know what to do, get help doing it. Get a coach because they will keep you on it, and that was the bit, because you're okay when you're 31. When you're 41, if you're still doing it by yourself, lifting the same bar above your head or from away from your chest for the 10,000th time is boring, right? And I know it's like the difference changes almost overnight, and you start cycling like that, and it's hard to maintain. Because I was obsessed, mate. I was obsessed. In my late 20s and early 30s.
But I was just going to say that's where the magic is. The magic is in the boredom. Like in with property, most of it, in my opinion, is pretty boring. It's pretty annoying and frustrating. But the magic is the end of the boredom. So, if I want to have a reasonably quality of life for 80 years, I've got to do the boredom.
Yeah. Oh,
and that's the most enjoyable thing.
The piece of it, just focusing. I love it because the piece of it is all I need to do for this next minute or two is lift this weight. I don't need to think about anything else. I need to think about where my feet need to be, where my hip needs to be, where my lifter needs to be. It's a really good, peaceful thing. But I wish I'd had a coach earlier.
Interesting.
Yeah. I think I'd have stuck to it because I had this period of time where I was just like between 35 and sort of like 40, even like 7 years, just going like that. Going back, knowing I need to do it, getting back into loving it, and then just getting really bored and then stopping and that kind of stuff. So anyway.
And the boring piece with investing is very, very true. Is that for most people, investing is boring, but the outcome is not boring and it's not sexy. You don't see a movie about a guy just logging into his email and replying to a solicitor or whatever. Like, do you? No. You see someone
if they reply.
You see, you
you see an email from a solicitor. Wow.
You see like movies with the mafia and like drug gangs and stuff like that because it's drama. It's more interesting, but that the boring is where the magic is. I like that. I want to talk about things that you're proud of in what you've done, from a financial freedom perspective. So yeah, I just want to know what are you most proud of so far? And then I'll flip on to some more difficult questions about challenges and stuff like that.
Okay. I think starting. Like, you have to be proud of starting because to have a go at something, in my opinion, is a courageous act. To start something is a very courageous act. Like,
yeah, because you can fail at it, can't you? You can fuck it up.
Yeah. So I think actually starting, I'm proud of because, I suppose I've been around the business space my whole life, but I still had to, have a go myself and try and make it happen. And I think as well, like it kind of was, I look back now and think, well, you were doing what no one else was doing around you at all. Like when I first started, when I was 20, I bought my first properties when I was 26. I didn't know anyone my age buying properties. And as well, like social media in 2021 isn't what it was now.
Yeah.
It's come on a long way. So it's like, you'd be around people who, want to get started. But how many actually start? And I'm proud of myself for starting. I think that's, I've got to give myself credit.
So would you consider for property starting when you've secured, like you've purchased a deal, or deciding you're going to do it? When would you say that?
When the first deal goes through, that's when I think you've started, because anyone can say, I'm going to go to a networking event.
Yeah.
They don't, and then maybe they do or don't go. Anyone can go, right, I want to do this. But when you move the funds over and when you get that first property and you've gone from, let's say, being, liquid to less liquid or no liquidity, you're like, okay, this is real now. This is real. Yeah. You've got to back yourself and on the whole, like with property, there is a element of safety, but things can still go wrong. You can do everything right and things can still go wrong. So yeah, I think startings I'm probably proud of. I think I'm proud of like my willingness to change, my willingness to take on advice. And, when I first started in property, I was like, yeah, let's do HMOs. Really wanted to. And I was like, actually, no, I don't. And then the reason I got in contact with you guys to start working together was a conversation we had, which was I was trying to get into the social leasing space and I could not find a way to get into it. Again, I'm not a developer. I'm a guy behind a spreadsheet. I love, I'm not.
What space? Sorry, I missed that.
Social housing.
Social housing. Yeah. And I couldn't find a way to get into it.
Yeah.
And then we had a conversation. You might not remember, we had a conversation and you said, well, I know someone who's done HMOs and now has switched them to leases. And that was it. So that one comment, or that one, I think it was on a Zoom call, a half-hour Zoom call, whatever, that one comment completely changed my opinion. And I was like, I still remember, so I remember saying to my parents after, right, we're doing this now. And for me now, this journey is about finding these both with investors, it's about finding these sentences or one words or paragraphs that make you think and go, hang on a minute, I need to do this.
I'll give you an example why that's really smart, not necessarily my comment, but we know someone who's developed a property that was going to be on a lease as an example, and it never came through, so it was in the wrong area and stuff like that. So that becomes a problem as an example. Whereas if you do it as a HMO, and like you said, it doesn't have to always be a HMO, you can move it onto a lease later with the right provider at the right time. And you don't necessarily have that risk of like the development or it falling through, if that makes sense. Yeah. The only real risk at that point is like, let's say it's tenanted and you've got to like evict the tenants or something like that, or you might have to tweak it or something like that. But yeah, potentially changing in the future is a good way to look at it. And also providers and leases and social housing phase, it changes over time, doesn't it? So like this current day at the moment, probably due to a little bit of like political stigma and like things with Article 4 restrictions, things like that, a lot of providers that were taking HMOs 2 or 3 years ago have now pulled out of the market, but it doesn't mean they won't come back in a year or two or whatever. So it does go a little bit cyclically, if that makes sense as well.
Can I ask you for an honest answer to this question? Why did you want to do social housing?
So again, the noise in the space with HMOs is the busy. It's gonna cause you headaches. It's gonna cause you hassle. It's gonna cause you aggravation. That is the noise in the space around HMOs. So when you're outside that space and you're not active in the game, as in actually have one, if everyone's saying the same thing and they're both, the majority of people are ahead of you and they own more property and they've got more assets than you and they've got a bigger net worth than you and they've been doing it longer than you, you'd be stupid to not maybe think there's some element of truth in that argument. And the noise I was getting about leases and social housing leases was a lot more kind of passive. And obviously when you're working a job and the schedule I have, it's like, do I want that set of problems with HMOs? But obviously, again, it's just like, it's the way you kind of approach it and who you work with. And it's the way you structure your business as well. My goal is to structure my business or the property stuff. And most areas of my life, I want to be able to run it off a laptop on a phone. That's it. And I want to focus on the high value tasks. So the high value tasks are doing deals, raising finance. That's it.
Yeah.
Everything else, I'm not interested in. Like, truthfully, I'm just not. I don't want to change a light bulb. I'm not good at it. I probably cause injury to myself. So I'm just not interested.
You're other egos.
No, and I think like if you don't think like that, in my opinion, it's also going to restrict your growth in terms of how quickly you can build. So that's kind of why it's like the noise in the space was, oh, don't do it. It's aggravation, hassle. But then it's giving you, relatively decent cash flow for, the amount of effort you're putting in. So I think that's probably my answer.
I'm always interested in this because I see it all the time and I hear it a lot, and I see people wait and then just fall away. I've seen it so many times. I only want to do social housing because, and it's normally
It's not that they want to provide any sort of social housing provision or know who within the social housing space they want to support. They just don't want the hassle of tenants. And in which case, I would suggest that maybe don't do property, because if you're, let's say, doing a standard 6-bedroom HMO and you don't want tenants to cause you hassle, then you've failed at the first hurdle, because you're going to have 6 of them in a house. So, and if you say, oh, well, I know I want to put 6 people in a house, but I don't want the hassle of the tenants, I'm going to find a social housing provider. Well, then you're back to just finding one tenant, which is the social housing provider. And yet I understand it works, but what you're effectively doing is you're saying, right, well, I'm going to find one social housing provider amongst what can only possibly be about 20 in your area, right? It's a very small market, very small, that would actually take this on as a property type. And therefore, you've got 20 potential tenants. Whereas in the private sector, you've got however many people are going to be living in HMOs and however many people might migrate to your town. And that's why I just see people stuck in the mud all the time, because they get sold this dream about social housing leases on HMOs. And I spent a lot of time late last year looking at this space. Didn't find a single one that was of credibility who were looking to take on social leases on HMOs in our areas. Not one.
The other side to it is very much the noise space depends on lots of different factors, doesn't it?
Yeah.
HMO with a good management agency with decent systems, can be relatively passive. It's never going to be passive completely.
Yeah.
But if you compared that to a standard buy-to-let managed by the same company that had a tenant there for 9 years, that is just going to be even quieter, isn't it? Because you're not even signing a new AST, let alone paying utility bills and stuff like that. So there's all those layers to it. But you can definitely get properties that are one type that are deemed to be passive and be a lot noisier for various reasons than others, depending on lots of different factors. So yeah,
agreed.
So right, we always want to learn about challenges, failures, and things like that. So my question for you is, what are some of the biggest challenges you've had, some of the biggest failures that you've encountered, and how have you learned from that? And maybe our listeners could learn something from that as well.
My big challenge, the health. That's the biggest problem. I'm actually probably the healthiest I've been in years right now. So I feel good. Yeah, I feel good. But again, I think when you've seen me in the past, I probably look pretty similar, but people don't see the challenges behind.
You don't look as tired, if that's helpful. You looked much more tired a couple of years ago when you were coming to pin and stuff.
I can't remember. 2 years ago. My mind doesn't remember. So that's probably my biggest challenge is health. Just trying to, that's again why I have a non-negotiable. That's why I'm committed with certain things, because I'm fine. For the most part, I'm okay. I'm not 100%, but I'm thereabouts at the minute. In terms of physical pain, I'm not in as much physical pain as I was kind of 5-6 years ago. I think it was especially there was a point where I couldn't even stand up. Back pain, could not stand up for more than half an hour, 45 minutes.
Wow.
So
that is hard.
Yeah, so that was a really tough time, and that then what happens? What I've noticed, it kills your motivation. It literally kills it. There's some days where I wake up with no drive, and it's that's not me. I feel like I'm pretty driven. No one achieve.
If you're sick or unhealthy, there's only one thing you want, isn't it?
Health.
That's it.
Yeah.
And then when you haven't got the problems, you probably you just take it for granted, don't you?
Yeah.
You just completely take it for granted.
If you're in pain, you can't do anything else.
Yeah.
Because you just want the pain to go away. Yeah. And if you live with pain chronically, motivating anything else is very, very difficult to do. Very difficult to do. And then if you have to control that pain through heavy medication, then that heavy medication doesn't just kill the pain, it kills everything else. It kills motivation and your ability to drive yourself. And it's just a slippery slope, unfortunately.
Talking to a pharmacist.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. My wife's lived with it for years and years and years, so she's got chronic pain, and I don't know how she even to say that she gets up and does stuff quite regularly is to her credit, because when you're on some of the big painkillers, the short text and the long text and stuff like that, it's not a good place to be. So it is. I totally understand that. There's nothing the motivation factor is the big one, isn't it?
That's the killer for me. That's the killer.
Especially if you just moving's hard.
I was never at that point. For me, it was I probably spent let's say the last 5 years, probably spent 70% of my time in pain. But I was always able to move, I was always functional.
Yeah.
But it's more, when, I'm in work and you stand up all day and it's just like, I can't do it. Like mentally just kills you, kills your happiness, kills your motivation, kills your drive. Because then it affects like your kind of the way you look at life as well. Because like, what's the point? Like, and buying the property for what? Like, you start touching that mortality aspect, which I don't like. But no, I think relatively now at the minute I'm the best I've been in years, which sounds ridiculous.
So what's the advice you give to someone that hasn't really had any decent health problems yet?
Focus on it, because you never know when you'll lose it. Because it's easy to think, it's like, I still remember being 20, 21, 22 and feeling invincible.
Yeah.
I don't feel invincible anymore.
Yeah.
I think that comes with age as well. I think, generally as you get older, you feel kind of less invincible, but you don't know what you have until you lose it. And I genuinely think I probably would have done more in property if I had these issues, and more in life if I had these issues. And that's why as well with the travel and stuff, that's why I'm so big on it, because I've had so many problems and you never see it. I don't really talk about it. There's no point, like, because I don't want sympathy. I don't need sympathy. I don't need it. Like, do you not think I'm frustrated as it is? But so just crack on, do what I can. Except you can have good days and bad days, and just have belief at the end that you're going to solve the problems. And look, I'm not perfect, but I'm thereabouts. So that's probably been the biggest challenge.
It's really interesting, isn't it? Because it's really hard to fix a problem that doesn't yet exist.
Yeah.
So like, I see it all the time, and I go back to the most successful people have had something happen, because something's happened, and therefore you're no longer guessing, and therefore you're driving forwards because of that motivation, that purposefulness. And before that, it's really hard to do, I think. So like your health, as an example, you need to go to the gym, you need to lift weights. You don't need to go and walk on a treadmill for 20 minutes. You can do that outside, right? You can go to the gym, you can lift weights. You should be doing that. Everybody should be doing that. It's hard to do. It's hard to make that time valuable in your life if you've got no issues.
Also, a lot of the benefits you might get from that might be 30, 40 years down the track.
Yeah. Well, it's an investment. You're putting money in the bank, aren't you?
It's putting money in the bank. So it's hard to go like, right, I do lifting weights now. I might have I might not get Alzheimer's in 30 years or whatever. If I don't do it, I might get it. It's hard to see the benefits.
It's the same with the investing. It's the same with the property and the portfolios. I think I started it later than I should have done. I was so busy in my day-to-day life. I didn't value, and I was paid so well. I didn't value that investing part, and my time. I didn't really value my time until then. I needed to be around for something that had happened in my life, and then I had to go, right, actually, that needs to change. And change is hard. Change is hard because you might not need to change, I think.
Other challenges, I'd say, probably just like trying to actually work it out, understand investing. That's hard enough in itself, because there's so many people doing so many different things, and so many people making money, and also so many people losing money. And it's trying to find your lane, trying to find your path. It takes time. It takes time. Like I said, I have to switch strategy a few times, and coaching, mentoring, talking to people has helped. And also, as you get into property space, you actually realize there's so many things you can do. There's so many things. There's almost too much at times. But whereas back when I first started, I just thought it was buy to let. What did I know? I didn't know anything. But I think actually like having the conviction to accept that, okay, fine, I'm changing strategy or doing something different. That's not wasted time. It's not wasted time, because you got to this point because of the previous actions. So yes, you may not have, I may not have bought the amount of properties I want or the strategy I want, but you're now in a position where you're so focused on what you want moving forward that although it's a challenge, although you're moving strategy, although you're not focused, moving forward, you're going to go so much quicker. And this is kind of like my next 2 to 3 year plan. I'm pretty focused on what I want, and that's come through time and talking to people and understanding and get myself around the right people. So yes, it's a challenge, not where I want to be, and actually doing it, and actually figuring it out, because it's not just a straight path of it's not a straight path. Figuring it out has been the challenge, but that's also you look back and think I'm kind of glad I wanted that, because I've come through with a load of knowledge. And ultimately, when you're playing the game for 30, 40 years like I am, I've got all this knowledge I can tap into in the future.
I think one of the big problems that when people join the property space is the number of things, right? That's what you're talking about there, is the number of
options available.
Number of options, but there's also the noise around those options. I'd always say find someone who's, before you decide on, strategy sounds great, find someone that's actually making it work, because a lot of them are noise.
Yeah,
that's a good point. And I think you've actually done that quite well, Sachin, is you've actually seeked out people that have done a decent amount of property and whatever, and tried to like learn from him and seek out questions and all those sort of things. Whereas I do get surprised how often you might go to networking events where there's really experienced people and there's not experienced people. It's like literally, if you're new in the space or inexperienced, literally just go and talk to people experienced.
Go and sit with them.
Just go sit with them and talk to them.
Yeah.
And it's as simple as that. And then you'll suddenly realize something, like you said, that you talk to someone, you realize something, and then you go, right, that's what I need to do. Whereas if you talk to someone, that's not in the property space or not experienced, that's just noise.
Yeah,
unfortunately, isn't it?
Yeah, a lot of it is noise.
Yeah,
a lot of the courses that are sold, a lot of the one-day courses, a lot of the specialist contract courses, it's just noise.
Yeah,
ultimately,
obviously, it's good to build relationships with people that.
Yeah, it's good for networking and
networking, because it might be someone you work with, joint venture with, and all those sort of things. So don't disclude it. But if you want to learn and push forward, you just talk to people just more experienced in that space than you. It's easy. And they've got the knowledge, and they'll tell you, because that's what people do in those property spaces.
Well, it's like at 23, when I first got into being an adult, I've been in education for 23 years. It's like, all I knew was house pass exams. And I just felt I didn't have, no, it's true. All I knew was pass exams. Like, it was like, you're just preparing for the next exam. And the amount of exams in, like, when I was doing my pharmacy, it was ridiculous. But you've got to go through that process. But I came out at 23 and I just said, I don't know how to be an adult. It sounds ridiculous. I didn't know about mortgages, didn't know about financial advice, finances, didn't know anything. I felt stupid.
Wouldn't it be great if there was a book out there that like had quick lessons in real world, what they don't teach you in school, by Timothy Witt, that could tell you some of those things.
But it's so
which is hence why I wrote the book, by the way, because I didn't know any of that stuff as well at that point. So
so in my head, it's like, well, whatever the topic, go and find someone who seems successful. Obviously, there are charlatans in every space, unfortunately, but who seems successful. Get around them, ask them questions. I remember like buying people coffees and taking for dinner just to learn about how they got there. And eventually, if they tell you to do something, just do it. Like, there was a guy who was near me, he's done really well in property, he said, just read this book. Went, read it, did it in 7 days. And I think he spoke to him, was like, oh, is you someone read that book? Yeah, he did it. Because you're more than successful than me, you've got more property than me, you've achieved more in business, and you tell me to go read a book. If I can't read a book, what else? I'm not going to be able to, I'm not going to buy property. You can't read a book, you're not going to buy property. So that's what I've tried to do, is get myself around people who are way more clever than me and just be a bit of a sponge and learn from them, whether that's be paid courses or podcasts or people active in HMO space like you guys. And it's not what you know, it's who you know. And eventually you'll seep in, you'll learn things. So that's kind of my strategy, because you can't know everything. But as long as you try and keep learning, then you'll pick up some things along the way.
Cool.
Really smart, really smart. Right. Similar topic, but what is some of the best bit of advice you've ever received, or the best bit of learning you've ever received?
So I've got 4 pieces.
Four. Right.
Sorry.
Okay, great.
All right.
Okay.
Somebody take notes.
So the gap between the life you want and the life you have is courage and relentlessness. So the original quote was by Grant Cardone, where he says, it takes courage to make money. But for me, I'm looking for quotes and one-liners that are applicable for all aspects of life.
Yeah.
And I think that you have to be courageous. To do anything, you have to be courageous. And I just don't think consistency is enough. Anyone can, I've said I've been training for 13 years, and anyone can go in the gym for 13 years and half-arse it.
Yeah.
And there's times I don't want to be in the gym. But even if I go in and just warm up and leave, that's me doing my best for that day. And I just look at people around me, and they just, whoever, they seem successful in an area, they've got this burning desire inside, you can see it in their eyes. So yeah, the gap between the life you want is courage and relentlessness. The next 2 are for my parents. Don't waste the opportunity you've been given, and tomorrow never comes. So don't waste the opportunity you've been given. Like, my parents were born here. My parents were born in Uganda, moved here. Like, my mum, like, it was a choice between getting the bus home and eating. And it's like, I'm so lucky to be born in the UK, and I know the UK is in a great space at the minute, but I know that if I was born in Uganda, I would not be living this life. I wouldn't have the same access to opportunities. And the UK is such an amazing place.
There's no way I'm putting my ticket back in the ballot box. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
If you were given the opportunity, I don't care how hard it is. We sponsor a school in Cambodia. It's not hard here. We just knew it isn't hard. It's still not hard.
Yeah.
You're making it hard, if anything.
It's a completely different world. It always can be made easier, but like you said, if you choose where you were born, I mean, I was born in Australia, but Australia, UK, places like that, you've won the lottery in a way.
Yeah, and you had to, obviously, you've both had to flee, haven't you? Ultimately.
Yeah. Well, I can flee back as well. That's right. Yeah, I got two.
Sorry, mate. Go ahead.
Two passports.
But yeah, like again, I'm so grateful to be born in the UK, and I know that it's a privilege. It's a privilege to be here, and like my mum says, like I don't have the same opportunities. I couldn't, when I was your age, like I couldn't go to traveling or come to Australia or do anything. Just like get yourself out there, go meet people, talk to people. Now get yourself out of the house because it's like the opportunities that are available if you're willing to go and access them. They're in theory infinite, and that's solely based on where I'm from, which is I got the lottery, but you've got to still play it and have a go.
The privilege factor, I think it does get lost a little bit in the UK, especially at the moment, because even though, let's say for business as an example, it might be better going to Dubai or America or Singapore or whatever, but the UK is still in like the top 5 or something, isn't it? Like, why?
I don't think it is.
Yeah, it might not. Even that's debatable itself. But like, let's say these are the top 5 countries in the world to do a business. Let's say the UK is number 4 or 5 or something. The way people talk about it's like, it's in the bottom few of the world or whatever, but that's not the case. It's just there are some that are potentially better.
It's not just business, it's everything like healthcare, like roads, like, like all aspects of life. Yeah, there's probably countries that are, I'm fortunate I've traveled all enough and I just still come back to, there might be places that, USA might be better in this respect, or Germany might be better in this respect, or Australia might be better weather, but you're comparing apples and pears. The actual difference is not that big.
And there's also ups and downs in all those countries, aren't they? So
of course, but when you objectively look at it from look at all of it, your marginal gains, and one person might favour the Aussie lifestyle and the beaches, but someone else might favour being in Europe with the UK or whatever. But there's a massive difference between being brought up in Uganda and being brought up in the UK. There's a huge difference, and I have to make sure that I don't waste that opportunity because I got bloody lucky. I got completely lucky, and so many people don't get that luck.
Yeah, I do think there's very few issues here, and sadly, I do think that when there are, it's of a creation. Somebody you create your own luck, don't you? Ultimately, you just got to get out and do that, and a lot of blame culture as well. Like blaming things that have happened or stuff that's happened to you and stuff like that. And some bad things can happen. They can, and it can create real problems. I'm not talking about the worst of the worst. I'm talking about the average person here, and I do worry that when you're given this lottery and you goes back to what Sachin was saying, which is you just didn't have the courage, and then time runs out, and then all of a sudden you no longer got the opportunity for whatever it is, and then you're in the blame game, aren't you? Because it can't be your fault.
Yeah, I like the courage thing.
Yeah, I like that a lot.
You got a couple more still, do you?
Yeah, so it's like tomorrow never comes. So tomorrow never comes the idea that I remember as a kid, like my parents used to like clean your room, and 2 weeks later I still haven't done it. And you bring that forward now, like I think you have to move in life with speed. If I don't reply to solicitors, they're not going to come back to me. If you don't go to the network event, you're not going to meet someone. And I feel like a lot of people even just replying to a message for like meeting for a drink. Sometimes it's like, it's so painful trying to organize it. It's like, just make a decision. Like if you're waiting so long to make a decision about something simple, when something more complicated comes along, you're not about to make a decision. Of course, there's certain times where you need to take time, like you do due diligence on the property, take your time. But at some point, it's either yes or no. It's not, I don't know. Or maybe you don't know, but then you go and find a yes or no, or find a solution, or find an answer. But yeah, just do stuff with certainty and speed.
Lack of decisiveness becomes procrastination. Procrastination results in nothing, basically. So, yeah.
And the final one is, I can't remember the exact gist, but it's like, I don't know many guys or males or females who have nailed all aspects of life. And that's what sticks to me, because that's for me what I'm trying to achieve. Like, I don't want to be a billionaire. It doesn't interest me. I think there's more to life than that. I don't want to be a Mr. Olympia. There's more to life than that. I think that trying to achieve success in one area is very difficult, but trying to achieve success in a lot of areas is very hard. And for me, that's my goal. My goal is, to travel around all these places and, have financial freedom and build businesses and build property and have great relationships and possibly have a family and all that kind of stuff, and being decent health, a decent physique, and that's hard. And I found that really hard and really challenging, because you're kind of like, well, if I neglect this area, then this area may improve, but is this actually what I want? And that's really hard, because I don't know many people who have truly nailed every area. I don't know many people. There's not many, but all you can do is try and have a go yourself. That's what I'm trying to do, just have a go, see what I get. And if I feel like I've achieved an area, then fine, maybe back down on that and go somewhere else.
Do you measure it? Could you break it down that specifically into, because we do the wheel, don't we, sometimes?
Yeah.
The wheel of things.
Wheel of life, yeah.
Like, like your relationship, your business, your health, your travel, your enjoyment, your that kind of thing.
It's very hard to be, I don't know, like a 7 to 10 out of 10 or whatever.
On all of them,
On all of them.
Really hard. Really hard. So again, I kind of use wheel of life as like a gauge. I probably don't think about it too much. I just kind of have a rough idea. I don't like getting too detailed. Oh, you need to be like that disciplined, because it's life. Things happen and stuff. But like I said, you just keep it simple. Am I training hard enough? Am I working hard enough? Am I traveling enough? Am I having enough fun? And just kind of work off that, and occasionally just go back to that guide. And
I guess for anybody who's listening, all this is it's 10 concentric circles from 1 to 10, and you just draw in circles, and you just plot points around the outside, which might be sections. So you split into pieces, and each piece is like you said there, which is some fun, and then you're going to rate yourself. Currently, how much fun am I having? Or travel. I'm going to rate myself out of 10. How much travel am I going to have? And then what you can do at the end is you can plot the things between the lines to have like a visual. It's actually quite a good thing to do.
I agree.
Because, it does highlight the bits that you aren't, because like you said, it's health.
That has to be 10 all the time.
That has to be up there, right? And if it's not, then you need to do something about that. Because if health dips, other bits are going to start dipping. And you can see that sometimes. It's good. It's good exercise, actually.
It's worth doing. Just to reflect on it, isn't it sometimes? Yeah.
That's everything.
Yeah, excellent.
Yeah, lovely.
Good few bits of advice there. I like it. Well, that rounds us out pretty much. But we do ask you to bring a question for us.
Okay.
So we'll go through those questions. And
so my question for you guys is, where do you see PPB going moving forward? Obviously, you've got established business. From the outside, looks like it's a smooth operation, the way it feels on the front end in terms of me being a client. But how, what's the future? Because obviously you've got challenges with Article 4, you've got challenges in development space. So where do you feel PPB can go?
Is this for Phil or
both of you? Both of you.
You can go for that.
Both of you.
Right. So PPB going forward, well, this year, like you said, we are focusing on being what we call the master craftsman in our business. And that's because there are lots of challenges. Like you mentioned before, there were things like Article 4 directions that came in because we were doing a high percentage of permitted development right HMO conversions. That's a lot more difficult because most of the areas have what's called an Article 4 direction where you can't do those without planning permission. So what we have actually looked at this year is to do like a smaller quantum of projects, more probably bigger HMO conversions or conversions to flats and things like that, knowing that they're pretty much all going to need planning permission. Still do 5 and 6 beds, but in the areas where, they need planning, and we know that
it's a more mature space.
It's a more mature space where the planning departments will support it and not be outrageous about it and things like that. So yeah, we've just said, and we worked out we'd done something like over 45 planning applications in this size space over the last few years. So there's probably not many operators that have that level of experience, from a planning perspective and also from that size development space. So yeah, we just want to be the best at it in that space, basically. So we're the master craftsman for this year. It's an internal thing, but because you asked, we can share it. And then, we'll sort of...
It's our headline strategy.
It's our headline strategy we have for our business is that. So, and then, we'll keep pushing through this year and then sort of reassess later in the year when we look at more strategy and things like that.
Yeah, we don't really go beyond the year anymore. I mean, Tim was asking me this about 5 to 10 years on an earlier podcast. I was like, it's a bit like too
far ahead.
Yeah. So we tend to have like a strategy retreat every sort of like autumn time where we decide on what we're doing for the next 12 months, and that 12 months starting the following April. So it gives us a bit of a runway to do that. I think there's more value that we can add other than just being the doers as well. I think there's some more value that we could push forwards. Yeah. In terms of, obviously we've got a podcast and a book. I think for the landlord developers of the world, I think there's more value that we can add to people. In terms of property portfolio building, well, we're passing 500 tenants this year on one side of the business as well. So that's already a significant sized organization. And then
considering that started at 0 in 2022. So.
Yeah. So the revenue is overtaken in this 12 months source and build program. So we're in a good space either way. So we, like Tim said, we're doing slightly more larger developments. I think hopefully, touch wood, we see some finance easing and some the inflation rates remain reasonably low, depending on what happens, obviously, we'll start to see some projects become viable as well in terms of like larger projects. We're certainly just finishing bigger projects, and we've got 2 others that we've offered on, which are even bigger than the one we've just done. So there's lots more to come. I think there's a little bit of value in doing more sort of like singular assets or type stuff as well for us.
Like box and buy to let, that kind of thing.
I think it's more about the abilities for people to move quickly and do good deals at the moment. I think that's a really good market, and it's interesting. And if we can get some funding lines in place to help with that, I think that would make certainly for our clients it'd be a really good thing as well. So that we're working on that at the moment. There's no promises yet, but
yeah. I think like from my point of view, you guys really only offer one product. So it's just like, for me, as someone who's obviously used your services, it's like, well, you give me the return I want. I feel like I'm lazy. You don't have to do much. So it's like, well, what other things can you offer that's I'd be interested in? So that's why I said about the social leases earlier, and obviously, just intrigued to see what you guys are doing, because surely there's got to be more that you can do. And ultimately, but we do everyone benefits. Really well. No, I get that. But everyone benefits. Like, you guys benefit, I benefit, government benefits, tenants benefit.
Yeah.
So if you can create an extra product, to me, it's a no-brainer. Like, the demand's there. I'm right here.
So we have got, in our lettings business, we've got new brand, Urban and Heritage, which is, for single lets. So, and, an option could be to convert something into a block of flats or something like that, or buy a block of flats. That could be another opportunity.
Yeah, we've already made that shift as well. Yeah. And so we're already doing that for others as well. It's interesting when you said that in terms of like, it's really smooth. One of our clients mentioned the other day, the testimonial for you should be completely forgot I had a development ongoing, or
it was running that smooth.
It was running that smooth. I completely about it. We were mentioning to her it's time to refinance. She's like, I completely forgot about completely forgot about this.
I sometimes feel like it's just been, I've said to you, I feel lazy. You associate success with hard work.
Yeah.
And I don't feel I'm anywhere of shape of success, but like this process of, what we've done so far, it's been easy.
Yeah, but how much front end energy have you put into finding that and making the strategy decisions and all that kind of stuff? How much front end energy
and all the networking
and the networking
we met through networking and all that education networking you did to get to that point to find the team that has made it?
I think
straightforward.
Well, fair comment. I don't know, but maybe I don't really see it as that, because I just see like I think you've hit the nail on the head in terms of actually meeting you. Obviously, I've known you guys for a long time now, but trying to meet people who can actually deliver what they say they're going to do in this space at times is very difficult.
And it's properties about people.
Yeah,
100%.
And I wish I'd done it earlier, but I knew that I was watching you guys for probably 2 or 3 years before I actually did anything, and we had liquidity issues and stuff. But the actual process is just, it's far too easy for how complicated development is. Yeah. So credit where credit due to you and your team.
So prices are going,
and I get a discount.
But it is a complex process that you can simplify. But by simplifying it, makes a big difference. But I suppose from your perspective, what you said before was the courage.
No wonder he looks less tired than me then.
That's why you got up late. Yeah. We look tired of you. That's all good. But there was that courage aspect, didn't you? Because even though you're watching for a while, you then had to do the courage to go, right, I'm going to invest in it. I'm going to lock in and move forward. And without doing that, that wouldn't have happened. So,
well, we did the lending loan before that, if you remember.
Yeah,
that was probably, like I said, I had no plans to work with people. But again, I think that lending loan and a couple of conversations we had. That was it. Switch my mind. Let's do it.
Do you know Sachin came on a Sharples Hall Discovery Day?
Oh, you did, yeah.
In Oldham.
I did.
Back in the day.
I did.
That was our
first PPB Discovery
Day. Yeah, you did, yeah. There you go. It came up on the memories. There was Sachin and Steve Cargill. Yeah.
It's actually nice looking through the Discovery Day photos, because there's always a 1 or 2 new clients. Yeah. Their first Discovery Day.
So Sachin and Steve. So Steve was our first PPB client that we did it for. And then Sachin watched his projects. and
I was like, wish I had those projects. Where would it be now?
There you go. That's good.
Right, that's it. So just to close out, if anyone wants to get in touch with you, connect with you or things like that, what's the best way to do that?
Instagram or Facebook, Sachin Govind. Just drop us a message. You want to have a chat about anything property based. And if anyone has any blocks of flats or portfolios, then please let me know. That is the next stage of my journey. As well as keeping working with you guys. That is the next stage. Really, got kind of an aggressive 18, 20 month head down work, try and build, and then hopefully get myself back to Australia.
Nice work. And we said that you could bring a book or podcast recommendation as well. Did you do that?
I'll give you 3 books in the podcast.
All
3
right,
books.
cool.
Rich Dad Poor Dad, Millionaire Next Door, The 4 Hour Work Week. Those 3 books changed my life. They started with those 3 books and then read about 70 and 18 months. And podcast, the Lewis Morgan podcast. He doesn't put any podcasts up. Lewis Morgan, the founder of Gymshark. I learned so much from that podcast. And he's a guy who, one of my biggest problems is finding people my age who are actually doing stuff and, trying to have a go.
He's a great example, isn't he?
He's a great example who's had challenges and lost challenges, and he, had challenges, made money, lost money, and he's done it. His things worth about 200 million, 300 million now. He's 30, 31, 32. Unfortunately, he doesn't release any anymore. He might do the odd one, but I learned so much from that, and no one's really spoken about it. So there's my podcast.
Yeah, it's very good.
Excellent. Great stuff.
Good stuff.
And
there we go.
Thanks for coming along. It's been great to have you. I think there's loads and loads of great content for our listeners. So thanks very much for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
And until the next one.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Thanks very much. And we'll see you on the next one, I guess.
Bye for now.
Bye for now.
Thank you once again for joining us on the Financial Freedom Podcast, sponsored by us at Property Portfolio Building. If you want to get in touch with us about today's podcast or any of the learning topics that we've gone through today, you can email us at podcast@invest-prop.co.uk or get in touch with us with whichever your social media platform of choice is. If you think you would add value to us as a guest on this podcast, you can please get in touch and let us know what you would be able to talk to us about. Other than that, we wish you well on your financial freedom journeys. And once again, thank you for joining us, and we'll see you on the next one.